So the highest, most reliable, functioning until your dying breath cells in the brain are called mirror neurons. And they literally activate the same brain cells in your brain as they see being activated in somebody else's brain.
That's fascinating.
So if you surround yourself with healthy people, you just find yourself wanting, oh, I really want to go for a walk. It's not like I am to go for a walk. I don't really want to. All right, I should. No, this is so strange. I've never wanted to go for a walk, but now I want to go for a walk. It's because you've been on a Zoom screen and you've seen people maybe from around the world, going for a walk. And you just find yourself wanting to go for a walk. Why? Your mirror neurons are saying, look, everybody's going for a walk. You go for a walk too. We're going for a walk. We're going to fit in with these people. They're going to help us find food, water, shelter. And you just find yourself wanting to go to your front door and put on your shoes. Same thing with eating a clean meal. Somebody said to me the other day, it was very strange. It was very strange. I wanted to go to the kitchen and make a clean meal. I have never wanted to make a clean meal. It's always been a battle. Well, I know I should eat that, but I don't want to eat that. I want to eat this stuff over here. And she said, I wanted to make a clean meal. So, well, that's your mirror neurons shifting over from everybody else in your culture who's eating processed foods. We have an online program where we're broadcasting 17 hours out of 24. You can always go over there and hang out with people who are healthy. And you can feel when your mirror neurons have shifted over and they're now copying healthy people. And the key really is your thought is, I want to go do that.
Tell us more about your program. I'm really intrigued by it. It's a program that works, or we hear about it quite often actually in conferences. We know this program works and it creates an environment, a social group for people to belong to.
Exactly.
Tell us more about it, because that is part of the problem and that's part of the solution too, right?
Yes. So so as I said, Zoom is what made it all possible. Zoom. I wrote the textbook. Do you mind if I hold it up?
Oh, no, of course not. Please do.
All right. Here it is. Full time, 3 years. I wrote 70% of it. It's 240,000 words long. The textbook, there's evidence for everything I know about processed food addiction, and a lot of things I don't know. I read research probably 3 or 4 days a week, and the researchers are just pouring it out. It's not reaching the public, but the researchers are creating evidence for all the different manifestations. Addictions are very, very big syndromes. They affect every cell in the body. They affect every relationship. They affect every family system. They affect every neighborhood. They affect every country. They're big, big syndromes. So in the middle of writing the textbook, I realized that at this point, 30 years into it, it only takes a few months of repeat exposure to processed foods to develop the addiction. And here we are 30 years into it. We've had plenty of time to develop the addiction. Most people have the addiction to some degree, or they've had it and they put it into remission, but it's still there. It's latent. So I was writing, there are 11 diagnostic criteria for addictions. And I wrote a full chapter on the evidence that that sign is present in overeating. And so there are 11 criteria. This is American Psychiatric Association. And they say if you have 6 or more of these, you have a severe addiction. Once you have a severe addiction, the treatment modality changes dramatically. And it becomes a question of immersing that person in a safe environment where their highly sensitive reward centers will not be triggered. Okay. So I wrote the first chapter. It's unintended use. I said, oh, everybody's got that. Here's all the evidence. Everybody's got that. Chapter 2, failure to cut back. Everybody's got that. Chapter 3, time spent, even if it's just in your head. Everybody's got that. Chapter 4, cravings. Everybody's got that. Chapter 5, failure to fulfill roles. Well, a lot of people have that. Chapter 6, relationship problems. Oh, a lot of people have that. And then it just hit me. You only need 6 criteria. I've just written 6 chapters, and most people have all those. That means this is a severe addiction. And then the next, the other 5 criteria are activities given up. And we know a lot of people are isolating. Then hazardous use. Before texting came along, eating in the car was the biggest distraction to driving. And then eating in spite of knowledge of consequences. Everybody's got that. Every time you take a bite of something, it's like, oh, I know it shouldn't be. Mm-hmm. And then tolerance. And that is on a national population level. Like the percentage of processed foods that people are eating just keeps going up as a percentage. Today, it's 73% in the US. And then the last one is a withdrawal syndrome. Mm-hmm. You're eating for reasons other than hunger. You're eating to stop withdrawal. And there's really good evidence for that as well. So it's a severe addiction. And I can remember sitting there in my seat. Oh my gosh, it's a severe addiction. And then as I found all the rest of the evidence for what people are enduring, I got it very clear that we are deeply traumatized by having a very destructive disease, being blamed for it, being reviled for it, being rejected, being ridiculed, being stigmatized because it converts to fat tissue under the skin. We're deeply traumatized. And in my case, these substances have a terrible impact on behavior, rage, depression, irrational anxiety, shame, chemically induced, because those reward centers wear out. And then you can't feel pleasure or satisfaction, and you can't see it in anybody else. And then you've got all this adrenaline in your system all the time. It creates a very volatile, toxic person, set of behaviors that they're not choosing. Okay, so, I had those parents. So I was traumatized by my parents, by their negative messaging, and then by not being able to stop it as an adult. Okay, so important discoveries, important, vital, explains why nothing works. Because, I just quickly went, okay, so what do you do about a severe addiction? Oh, you go to residential treatment for a couple of years. We're not sending hundreds of millions of people to residential treatment. What's the next best thing? Intensive outpatient programs, where you go to the hospital Monday through Friday for 3 or 4 hours a day. I thought, could we deliver that over the internet? Because as soon as I found out it was a severe addiction, I started a Facebook group, Food Addiction Education. I thought, well, at least we can have a place where people can go 24 hours a day. And I started a daily phone call, which didn't make a dent in it. I thought maybe I could offer a course. And if people came to the course enough during the day, that would really help. So I found a teaching company with a lot of capabilities, Kajabi, and I started building an online course. And then at the end of the year, that was 2017, I got on my first Zoom chat. And I immediately thought, we could deliver intensive outpatient over Zoom. So I got some volunteers from the conference call. I said, come on, you guys, clear your calendars for a week and do this with me. We did it the first week of January 2018. 2018. Now, these are people who'd been on the conference call with me for a couple of years without success. Goodness bless them for sticking with me. They had been trying to have one clean day of eating for maybe 20 years with no success. They're desperate and they still can't stop. It's a severe addiction. So we start the first day. I'm going to be on Zoom all day. I didn't know that I can't do that. It's too much, but I committed to it. And then we had an advertised paid week the following. So I was going to run this test week, this beta week with my volunteers, and then run a week for the public. So we get on at the end of the day. We talk in the morning, you know, what are you going to eat? And no, I can't start this today. It's just too much. No, I can start this, but I can't weigh and measure. Okay, don't do that. No, then don't start today. At the end of the day, we went around the room, the Zoom room. Everybody had had a clean day.
Amazing.
I had been looking for this for 22 years. I got off of sugars and flours in 1996, and I started experiencing the miracles, the bloating, the craving, the brain fog, the fatigue, the sinus infections, the allergy, and then the raging. And I just thought, oh, everybody's got to know this. I've got to tell everybody, and they'll stop eating it, and then they'll be so much happier. No, it's a severe addiction. You don't just treat a severe addiction by telling somebody if they have it. But anyway, there it was. 22 years later, I did 14 major programs in those 22 years. I earned the PhD. I got on television. I did all these things. I wrote a popular book. I had a prepared meal company. None of it had worked except the internship that I did at a small faith organization in South Houston. And there it worked great. And I missed the significance of it. People who knew each other well, a few of them got some big results, and it just spread throughout the organization. They already had their mirror neuron engagement. They already identified with each other tremendously. At the end of just showing up a couple of days a week to answer questions and offer education, they were all off their medications. They lost their weight. It was an elderly population. They were 20 years younger. They were off the couch in the afternoon. It was just beautiful. And I missed the significance of it. And it was so like matter of fact, I just thought, well, of course, of course. But that's exactly the same thing that happened. They stayed clean all week. They all got through withdrawal. I said, please come and volunteer with me next week. We did it with our paid population. They also, same result. Same result. And that was it. I couldn't stay on all day, but eventually the next person came on who could run some of the hours. And since that time, we have now built up to 17 hours around the clock, around the world. So if somebody wakes up in the middle of the night in the UK, somebody from Australia will be on. And they can open up. They don't have to go and binge in the middle of the night. They can just open up their screen. Getting into community releases a great substance in the own body, a neurotransmitter called oxytocin, which travels to the dopamine pathways and regulates them. So you can just open up your screen, get an oxytocin release, and get your cravings under control. And because Zoom is on every device, whether it's your cell phone, your smartphone, or your tablet, or your computer, or your laptop, anywhere you have an internet connection, you can get on. And anyway, we have things that you can download to your device. So if you're driving somewhere where there's no reception, you can be listening to one of our podcasts. And that's the answer. Now, we are also science-based. So the big piece of it is all this messaging. You can do residential rehab at home. And people say that, I'm out and about, I'm running my life, I'm doing my errands, picking up the kids. But when I'm at home, I'm in rehab. I turn on the arc, I listen to it in the background. I can do the vacuuming, I can fix my food. But the messaging is getting packed in there. I am powerful, I am valuable, I easily know that those foods make me sick. And you just keep building that messaging until you have more of that. I am powerful. I am in control. I know the truth. I know the difference between toxic foods and real foods. I easily make clean meals. You have that kind of messaging running your behavior, and it gets bigger and bigger and bigger. And it eventually just gets bigger than the addiction. You're filling up your frontal lobe. You're making your frontal lobe active again. It's regaining its power in the brain. And then you're doing a lot of stress management training, how to avoid being stressed out by other people or circumstances. And you're eating full, clean meals. And that's calming down the food-seeking brain. Just works.
I was going to ask you, so how, I mean, you highlighted the importance of having that community, and some people need that for 17 hours of the day. How challenging is it for those people who I know that some will have family members living with them in the same household who do not support them? I mean, it's a sad reality, but we all know people like that.
So we discovered this quite by accident, but it's very cool. We have a whole library now. I most weekends I put on a weekend workshop for our community. I will just assemble some new set of science, and we'll explain something. Like we'll explain why the community works, the oxytocin release, and people will get a deep understanding why that works. Why being kind to another person works. Being kind to another person, helping another person, changes the body chemistry dramatically. So why? What do the tobacco companies do? What does it mean to have your mirror neurons latched onto a social circle that likes to eat and drink and is gaining weight? That means that you're going to be eating and drinking and gaining weight. So just one after another, how mirror neurons work. We have this huge library of videos. So what we learned is if our member is playing one of these fascinating videos in the household, the other people in the household are listening to it. And they're responding. And we don't care. Like when we're in a chat and we're doing check-ins and people are solving problems or they're celebrating victories, we say, go listen to that in the part of the house where other people can hear. This is a really cute story. One of our members who just plays it in the background. I tell people, if you can watch TV, you can recover, because your brain will be helplessly, automatically taking in this messaging and strengthening your own behaviors. So she carries it around with her in the house. And one day her husband says to her, "Oh, I'm glad she's back. I like her." And her member says, Who are you talking about? He said, that lady on your computer. She's back. I like her. See, he was listening. He was getting it. This activates his drive to belong. Now he wants to conform to those people on the screen. Mirror neurons decide who to copy based on how often they see them. So the fact that we're on for a block of 6 hours, and then we're off for 2 hours, we're on for a block of 8 hours, and then we're off for a couple of hours. It's very easy to see members of the ARC, the Addiction Reset community. It's very easy to see them all the time. It's very easy to get your mirror neurons to swing over and say, no, what do these people do? Because we see them all the time. We need to copy them. It's life or death. They're going to get us food, water, shelter, protect our children, and fight off predators. So what is it that they do? Oh, they don't eat this stuff? Oh, okay. Well, we won't eat it either. It's that friggin' easy.